Good evening, everyone. Welcome to the regular session meeting for the Mayor and Council of the Town of Berlin. It is Monday, November 27th, 2023. Please join us in a moment of silence, followed by the Pledge of Allegiance. Thank you.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. The first item on our agenda is the consent agenda, which includes the approval of the closed session minutes and the regular session minutes of November 13th, 2023.
Motion to approve.
I have a motion to approve the consent agenda. Second, motion made by Councilmember Orris, second by Councilmember Nichols. All in favor say aye. Aye. All opposed? Let the record reflect that the consent agenda passes unanimously. Thank you, with all council members present. Up next is agenda item number 2, the presentation of the Beacon Strategic Plan Phase 1 review. And we have Beacon's Director, John Hickman, and Associate Director, Jessica Iacona. Thank you. Thank you both for joining us.
Kate's got it. We're operating with some technical difficulties this evening.
It's a premonition.
My finger's moving the mouse that
I
I
know,
see there, but it's
see
not on
it,
my
but
laptop.
I thought it was a tray, like food, and was sitting that way.
Is that our plan, John, right there? The palm trees and the beach?
This looks like an excellent strategic vision.
See, Jimmy Buffett plan or something. So, first of all, thank you all for having us here to present where we are so far, and introduced, and we've met you all before. Tonight I want to go through a couple of things. First of all, bring you up to date on the data we collected from our survey, and then give you, you've all received a report of where we are in the planning process so far, and answer any questions you have, go through what anticipated next steps are, and so with that, I hope that this will go forward. So these are the results we shared with the Strategic Planning Committee on November 6th. At that meeting, we also worked through discussing strengths, weaknesses, opportunities, and threats, particularly collecting some information from the department heads. But I'm going to buzz through these. You sort of know this. We went through the strategic planning process to highlight, number one, what the goal of it is, which is really to give a high level, not to be in, certainly some of the action items may end up being down in the weeds, but really for the process to be looking at what those high level goals are, looking in sort of a 5-year window, a 3 to 5 year window. And so, number one, we want to make sure that we are setting some smart goals, right? So in there is for the participants to understand that we're going to talk about specific things that you may want to accomplish this town. We want to look at where are there areas for improvement. That sort of informs what some of those goals might be. Not really final step, but what you want to culminate with is some action steps that are going to move the town forward towards what those goals are. It'll help you all. We talked about this before. If there's things in the plan, that's an area that from the committees to you, and at the end, you all have to accept this. So I'm going to share with you where we are from the SWAT's perspective. If there's feedback that you want to give, you can give it to us tonight. If you want to email it to us, we'll do that. If you'd like to set up another interview phone call with you, we'll do that also. But at the end, looking at this is something that you all as the elected officials, have to say, yeah, we agree, we're going to move forward with this. And I skipped over, but also monitoring this is important. So the hard part in strategic planning a lot of times is people create a great plan, and then they don't monitor where they are. So when we finish this plan, we will encourage you to internally, once a year, say, all right, at least, it's a minimum, but how are we doing? Are we reaching these goals? Are we reaching what we wanted to do? Not all of those action items are going to have a short-term goal, but are they still on the radar? And are they still correct? Certainly things are going to change 4 years from now. There may be items that say, we've either accomplished this or it's no longer relevant for us. So again, what it is not is not looking just at the short-term needs. And I use an example of that. Maybe it might be appropriate in looking at the SWOT and that we received in feedback from you all. Parking is an issue that's going to come up in there, right? So the short-term solution would be that you either eliminate cars from Berlin, right? So I say that, that's a short-term solution. You won't have a parking problem here, right? But it brings up other issues. So again, it's looking at what are the long-term solutions to that. There may be short-term elements, but what is the long-term solution to that? And again, here, it's not a one-time event. We encourage you as you go through this to assess, are those still the correct goals? And it should not be top-down. So I will say, I'm encouraged that there's good participation from several groups in town, committees, and also from your town departments. For you all, it sets a path. That's why I said you're going to have feedback throughout this process. This is one of those times we want to hear from you, the elected officials, because it's going to set a path for you over that time. As you look next year in March, April, as you're setting your budget, you're starting to do that, are those spending patterns aligned with what the town and its representatives have said is our long-term goal? And also, I say this knowing that in 5 years, some of you are not going to be in the same seat that you are. You may be seated out here, you may be in the mayor's seat. I'm not sure, but those new leaders will have a starting point to say, here's where the town is still going. In 5 years, it'll be time for you to revise this. But hopefully, if you've been doing a good job keeping it up, that revision isn't as hard.
Tell me this. When you started from ground zero?
Not completely ground zero. So we did look at your last strategic plan.
That's
We've looked at what's going on in Berlin. So we didn't start from a complete ground zero. But from the strategic planning process, that's background information for us. We use that as context, but the assessment, the strengths, opportunities, weaknesses, and threats, those don't come from us. The information that we're going to present here, we've collected from interviews we've done and from the survey that we've done of your system. So at some point it really is from ground zero in that this is what people currently believe. That answer.
Yes, but it's somewhat disappointing because I've been under the impression that the past strategic plan needed to be updated, and then we go from there. But that's not what you did.
No, we like to start from what is.
You started fresh.
Well, we use that as context. If there's something that's a big change, we're going to bring that up. But we don't know. We can't say that the views that people have shared with us, if they're different completely from what that last strategic plan is, that needs to be reflected.
Yeah.
And so if we said, all right, do you still believe this is the case? That's a bit of a leading question to people in answering.
But you talked about action steps and measuring where you are annually and things of this nature. That previous plan had those action steps and those short and long-term goals. So we have missed an opportunity by our failure to not review that plan annually, would you say?
I would agree, yes.
Wouldn't it be helpful when you compile the final report to reference the previous plan and talk about it and say, here were the goals then, and here's how Berlin has changed?
Have you all looked at the 2016 plan?
I have not.
It's not what we're working on now, let's put it that way. And it did not receive the same process.
No.
This is more citizen-driven process, I think.
Well, that was citizen-driven also. And I do believe we have missed an opportunity to plot the town's progress from then until now. And that concerns me, because there were action steps in that plan. There were short and long-term goals, and some of those things have been accomplished. Some are still being worked on, and I just think we missed that resource. But you did say that you did say that you used that as background.
Right.
Well, that's all I have to say.
Okay.
Okay?
Okay. And if you would like us to, I mean, we can probably integrate in here, going to your department heads and say, all right, can you give us a status on each of these action items?
Can I was going to wait till your end of your presentation, but I heard, is your definition of, I forget what you just said, Mayor, citizen included, citizen-driven, is that solely the 111 surveys that we received? Is that this citizen driveness that you're talking about?
Well, so we've had one listening session with the business community. We've got a tentative session set, because that's a listening session in the second round of this for the 4th, next Monday.
Is that, and please, I don't mean to be rude, is that community listening to you, or are you listening to community?
Do what?
Is that you explaining something, or is that them explaining to you?
That's going to have them. Again, the questions will be, what are areas that you think can be improved? And that's going to be citizen feedback there. What are areas that the town is currently doing well that you'd like to see them leverage? Right?
Okay, that's all I have to say for now, to quote the PD.
Were you surprised by the low number of responses that you received from the online or the mail, whatever?
If you'd asked me this before COVID, I would say yes. Now, I will tell you that survey response is just hard to get.
So you seem to get more from the written format style. So don't you think, or looking at it, you think it would have been more advisable to do a mailing of a paper copy to all the residents, and you might have had a better response?
We did do a mailing, the utility bills.
But it wasn't a mailing, it was written format.
Yes, it was.
Oh, it was.
There's a paper.
Yeah.
They had the option and are going online and
Filling
completing
that
it,
out.
but they could do
And
it.
You
yeah.
get yours digitally.
The paper
Right.
survey had a QR code. They could either use that QR code or use the paper
Okay, I didn't realize that.
form.
So does Beacon have the ability when you're doing these strategic plans? I'm not saying necessarily track responses per person, but when you send out surveys, how am I trying to say? Do you have a tracking mechanism of send out this many, receive this many, like, aside from what you physically get, is there any way of tracking that sort of thing? Does that make sense? Like a barcode on there saying that this was mailed out to somewhere and we did not receive this one back, but we have an idea of where it went. Does that make sense? Do you have that technology available to you?
With the way that we distributed this survey, we do not. If we had started from an emailing list, we would have had, if we had emailed to a list of 2,000 people, right, we would know if that email had responded. We wouldn't track it directly to the response, but we would know that this email came into the system and responded to the survey.
And you had said that if this was before COVID, you would have been surprised. Can you explain that? I don't quite understand.
I'll tell you, post-COVID, people's response to surveys, to coming to town halls, to going to focus groups, the turnout rate's just lower. I'm not sure if people are less comfortable with filling out surveys. I'm not sure if it's that people are more detached from their civic engagement. I mean, those fit into that.
Do you think that this process right now, this phase one, is going up?
I would have liked more citizen input, yes. So I think, I will say, from the process with getting feedback, you all, we did interviews with you, you were responsive. I'm not sure, we haven't had the citizen feedback session. It's just an open session. I can't say that's predicting it.
Is that upcoming scheduled listening session part of phase one or phase two?
Phase two.
But did you say you already had one? No,
So
did
we-
you say you have two upcoming?
No, we have, so we knew that there was the business roundtable. We
Right.
came and asked Ivy if we could participate in that and collect some information as a listening session. We knew that was a group that would be coming together. We could fit in their existing schedule.
I must have made this up, because in my brain I just wrote, held one and another one's coming.
You're right.
Yeah.
You're correct. They held one during the business roundtable.
It was a merchant meeting.
That's what I
The
thought.
merchant meeting,
Okay, good, okay. And just now when you were
Yeah.
talking, I was
but they were present at the roundtable as well.
And then they did also already host the stakeholder meeting in person. There's another stakeholder meeting scheduled, the
For
13th.
the 13th.
that was my next question,
And
the
then-
stakeholder.
Monday,
Monday the 4th is the open, if you all agree
if
to
we
it,
approve it.
then it would be
That's
the
currently
listening
what's
session.
tentative. We want to get the word out with the understanding that you may choose to go a different direction.
How much did phase one cost?
Each one's broken up to the same amount.
Whatever the
Nine
motion for
thousand.
this evening is, it was the same.
The other side of that too is that the survey
There's no-
only went to utility customers.
Right.
But businesses were also offered the opportunity to come in and fill out paper surveys. And with that, the reason we did opt for that direction rather than making it public, anybody can complete link, is because the strategic plan is going to drive the way we spend money ultimately. And with that, people should have skin in the game if we're directing how we spend the money.
And I will say, we discussed whether or not to have a press release that directed it out to the broad public. The focus of this, we would not know, we have the question, are you a Berlin resident? The people who people could, number one, say, you know, I am, and they may not be. We know if it goes out to the utility customers, those are residents of Berlin.
Well, at least
Likely.
they own a property.
They own a property.
In Berlin, don't necessarily live here. And it may not even be going to a Berlin
I can tell you, we
address.
get many calls from people who have a Berlin, Maryland 21811 address, but they are not in the town. So that's the problem with just putting it out generally. People think that they are.
Right, I mean, and that's even Ocean Pines doing
So
it.
how did y'all do it the first time?
How did we do what?
For the 2016 strategic plan?
It was focus groups held,
Yeah, it was
at
a
scheduled times.
facilitated facilitated, that's not the word I'm looking for.
Mediated?
It was a professional group that came in and held public meetings and asked questions and had different.
Like, is this the word with the dots on the wall?
Yeah.
It was the
yeah.
post-it note.
Posted.
We put the post-it
The
note.
parking
My understanding of that was the town paid for the process, the
Uh-huh.
information gathering process. And then the mayor, G. Williams at the time, took that and wrote the plan. Am I correct? That's how, that was my
I would
understanding.
say so.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I think in that.
The 2016 plan is available, readily available on the website if you want to take a look.
Yeah, and he wrote, yeah, no, definitely not Mr. Williams wrote it, but.
Well, again, like, I mean, it is a different time
Yeah.
than from 2016, and even the climate in which we gather is way different in 2013. Oh, Lord.
16.
Yeah, whatever this year is.
23.
This
Yeah.
is not 2016.
That's
And John,
their
it's not, and John, just, it's not the last time that folks will get the chance to provide input on the plan. This is phase one to kind of start the groundwork of what will build out the plan. But ultimately, this body and the public will have the opportunity to comment multiple times as the plan moves forward. Is that correct?
Yes.
So what are the
But-
I'm
other,
not seeing that. I'm
But,
sorry.
what are the other options, what are the other means for the public to have some input or some verbals here rather than the stakeholder meeting, or if they're not a business owner and the utility plan that we just did? What are other ways for those residents?
So we've got an open session coming on the 4th. If you want us to hold, one of the challenges we have, just calendar-wise, you all know this.
Yeah.
And we're fine with keeping the time scope longer, but after the 12th, you're in the week before Christmas. And, you know, it's just a challenge getting people to come to anything from then until after the first of the year. Except for the tree lighting.
And the Christmas parade next week.
Yeah, but again, getting people to come out to a public meeting is harder. And I would say during that 2-week period, virtually impossible.
Do you think it would be beneficial if we resent the paper copy with the utility bills and with a message, if you haven't filled this out, we really need your help?
Does that affect your numbers?
You might get the same.
Doesn't matter.
Yeah, it's
That's-
right, people can
The
counsel,
challenge is, you may get the same respondents. We don't have a way of knowing that.
Right.
So you either throw out the first results because
It was too low.
you don't know if they're being replaced, or you add it and then you skew the data, so.
And that was the risk of doing it in the newspaper. If you had somebody who was really banging a drum, they would, you know,
Yeah,
Send it out to all their friends and.
right.
Yeah.
It's hard to be happy about 2% return.
Yeah.
But so 2 weeks ago, I questioned whether or not we were ready to go to the second phase because I knew about the 111 of 5,000 citizens. So not very impressive. And I knew that some of that 111 were actually, business owners that didn't live in town. But I think their opinion is very valuable.
Right.
But I will say I've changed my tone a little bit when I read the responses, because I don't think that I'm not saying, it's not extremist views. I think I don't know if anybody, my colleagues, I didn't read anything in here that was surprising or really new to us. I mean, I think it was validation of some of our strengths, some weaknesses. I mean, parking, we hear about it every day.
Right.
I hear about cost of living and parking every day from the town of Berlin
Now,
perspective.
affordable housing,
Yeah, right, and that's good.
That's one of those broad themes, affordable housing or housing availability.
Right. So the 111, again, it's hard to be excited about 111, but after diving deeper into seeing some of the responses, I felt a little bit better about it. And I talked to some people that were at the session that you held recently, and including the CEO of the hospital, retired superintendent of schools, who serves on the Board of Education. I was impressed with some of what they said, so I thought, look, strategic planning is not fun.
Well, not
Councilman
to-
Nur and I sat in one for the hospital. It is deep dive type stuff, not always enjoyable, but it's necessary. So I guess, while again, I come back to the 2% was not impressive, but I was a little bit relieved when I saw some of the depth of responses.
But 2% also, if you're looking at 2% of 5,026 people, I don't know about you all, but I know many people that filled it out for their household that didn't do it as one person in each household
Right,
filling it
because that
out.
5,000 is
Right.
the entire population, which includes children and.
And keep in mind, I think there's like, what, 2,500, and that's, I think, a little on the higher end on the utility customers. So I think when you look at that plus household structure, I think it might be higher than that. You see what I'm saying?
Yeah.
I don't think it truly is 2%.
Yeah, we thought it was more around 4%
If not
of the
more.
audience that it went to, which is the utility
Customers.
users.
This is my concern. We had a resident sat in here and said to us last meeting or the meeting before that they were concerned that we're going to be getting the same information from the same people. And I'm concerned about how do we reach out to those folks that may not usually participate in these groups or this survey to gauge their concerns. And I want to make sure that when we say we're getting a cross-section of the population, that we have done what we can do to ensure the participation of that cross-section.
And I just want to say, because I agree with Councilmember Green and I agree with Councilmember Vice President Burrell. And again, I don't think that this process is working for me. I think that the impression that I got, it was going to be a little bit more focus groupy, more community input. I mean, no disrespect to the merchants or the committee members and whatnot that you've spoken to already and us, but I think that I would have preferred to see a little bit more outreach, a little bit more getting excitement about the strategic plan. And I understand we're coming up on the holidays, so now it's pretty much going to be until anything will be after the new year. We have $28,000 of ARPA funds budgeted for this and we spent about $9,000 for phase 1. I'm going to be honest with everyone, I'm not comfortable moving on to phase 2 with this particular project and Beacon.
I feel like I feel where you're going with that, and when I look at these upcoming dates and things, and I know that it's very hard. I mean, getting people that traditionally don't provide the information that you're looking for, because when we talk about 2% or 4%, these are the same 2 or 4% that I feel we hear from on a regular basis. Not saying that not hearing from others, I'm not saying that it's all the same people, it could be somebody different. But again, if I think about the avenues that we've gone down already to receive responses, not belittling them, but at the same time, if you think about the utility holder, it's not always going to be the person who lives here. I mean, you know what I'm saying? Just because I own that bill doesn't mean that I'm the person who could truly give you true feedback on this community. But how we get to them without becoming invasive, that's hard. I don't even know how you go about doing that. So that for me is what makes this extremely hard, because I see these upcoming dates, like locations for these, it's gonna be like the library or here or something of that nature.
Yep.
I'm not belittling where you're going with this, I'm not. But in my brain, when I think about a huge population of folks, they don't even go to the library, you know what I mean? Not even just for 411 information, but this is hard for me. I guess in my brain, and you're right, the Christmas parade, we laugh when we say things like that, Christmas parades and gatherings like that, but in all actuality, those are some of the only times that you're gonna get a huge cross-section of our community in a place, not just Christmas parade, but Memorial Day parade or this or that. And I know hindsight is 20/20. You know what I mean? It's just harder, even if, like, when you think about it from even the standpoint of just trying to provide community service information, where do you see people the most? You might see them at a back-to-school night or something, or you might see them at a children's singing performance, but we're not allowed to go in and ask them these questions. So this right here, to me, from the beginning, has always been kind of like, what are we really gonna get?
And John and Jess,
So I would ask, this is a question, where are some places, I'd ask all of you, that you would say maybe an opportunity to get people to provide feedback?
Church.
we've also, I believe some church members are on the focus groups.
But I mean, if it's going to that.
I'm talking about church locations.
Okay.
And
For some of these groups.
And when I'm talking about outreachy and more, I'm envisioning what happened in 2006. Now, I understand that not everyone's going to come, and you're not going to get every single resident. I completely understand that. But we didn't, in my opinion, there wasn't a whole lot of, that I'm aware of advertising for this, other than these community listening that's apparently coming up, and the surveys that went out. But we didn't do, I'm envisioning here, like to bring people for the town strategic plan, town hall seems a logical place to come. Perhaps with another venue at the library. That's not my job. But what I'm saying is, I don't feel very excited, given phase one, about the path that we may be on for our strategic plan. And I think the strategic plan is an important thing to get a little excited about. And we need to get people the best we can. We advertise, bring it here. I'll buy pizza. I mean, it's just maybe a pie or two. But you know,
But I will say
I
this.
think that just, I'm sorry, something.
Go.
But I really think that this is something to get passionate about, and I do, well, that's, I'm gonna leave it at that. Go ahead.
I don't think that we should discredit where we're trying to go and say stick with plan from 2016, because we are not in 2016. If nothing else, I hate saying this, but it's the truth. If nothing else, COVID has changed every way that everybody does everything, how we operate our lives completely. So for anybody out there in this world, in this town community that feels that we should stick with Plan 2016.
Nobody said we should stick.
Oh, I'm not saying us. I'm not saying this group right here. I'm saying in general, out there, whomever. I'm not thinking that we should stick with that plan as it sits. There definitely need to be some modifications, some changes, some updates, some upgrades. But I also think that the way in which we're reaching folks, I don't know how, but I feel that it needs some.
Can you talk to me about your structure for your December 4th meeting? You call it a listening session. I assume you'll have it in this room or a room
It's in
like
this room, I think.
So how will you present? You'll present what you've already
Yeah,
collected?
for that is just, it is for people to share basically the same questions that are in the survey, except even more compact. To get people to say, all right, where do you think the town is has opportunities to improve. And to let people share those views.
So you have no way of knowing, sorry, Councilmember Bernard, you have no way of knowing if the people who come to the listening session are the same ones who fill out the survey.
Right. No, we don't.
Nor would you want to.
No.
Because you want to allow people to have that free space to be able to.
Right, and I agree, but what I'm saying is if that was
Well, we could have
what happened to
duplication
begin
of
with,
views.
you would have had a more,
Well, and I think the other side of this too, as you construct a plan, right now people are commenting on questions or aspects that they feel are important to them. It's not uncommon to have a plan mocked up and have a way for folks to be able to provide digital feedback. The state does it all the time. On their MDOT plans, on just about every plan that they're constructing, they have a digital feedback mechanism. That's not uncommon. They may do one site location, usually not more than that, and then they construct a plan and you have a chance to public comment on it. I really think that Beacon has done a fabulous job with the phase one side of things as far as building out the framework, getting that first stakeholder meeting together, which is crucial, and then constructing and getting this feedback summarized. I'm excited about the phase 2 and phase 3, and I think really that's when you start to see it take shape. And then you're able to comment more precisely on what areas you may or may not think are reflective of our community. But I think you've done a fabulous job, so I want to say that publicly.
To me, this is about expectations. And I actually don't have expectations that there's going to be a lot of excitement about the town of Berlin strategic planning process. I mean, we are government officials. We live and breathe it, you know. But like I know December 4th right now, I have a basketball game at Easton.
Yes.
So that to me is what it's about. This is about just people living their lives, you know, coming to the tree lighting is because we took our kids there.
Yeah.
Our kids want to see it, frankly, you know, and coming to the parade is about our kids and about that aspect. This is going to be different than that. And, you know, December 4th does concern me a little bit because I don't believe that is a date that's been out yet. I would be willing to consider maybe we should we punt this after the first of the year when things aren't so complicated and things aren't so hectic and busy. I know I can feel it. I'm missing something here tonight. We probably all are, you know. But I don't know if that's a reasonable compromise. Yeah.
I will say, you know, we're willing to do one in December and then one in January. And you know, Councilor Bureau particularly, if there's a location that you think would get people who would not feel comfortable coming to the library or coming to town hall, we're willing to go there.
So would you consider going to locations within the different districts? Or is what I'm asking, what I'm curious about. Like the different voting districts. Would you do 1 in 1, 2, 3, 4, or you know what I'm saying? So that people, I'm not saying that we don't travel throughout the town, but make it a little more convenient, for lack of a better term, for those people that make up those different locations to be more accessible to them. And will the questions be the same, or will they be more complex?
Questions would be the same.
Questions would be the same.
We want people, again, as we're looking at this is the question they've asked. Now, the other piece, in a roundtable discussion, town hall meeting, if something gets completely off track, or, you know, we'll come back, say, oh, we've got to come back to the question. We'll note that, but you know, but there are times that you've been in meetings, so that it may get off track of the question. We'll bring people back. We'll note the sidetrack. We'll say that, you know, we've got that. Let's come back to the question we're discussing. If it's areas that need to be improved, right? You know, and we've heard, you know, the same way someone's answer is 10 minutes long, we're probably going to corral that back.
And I think the other side of that, Councilmember Nichols, is that our town's not that big. District 1, 2, 3, and 4 are really not that spread out. I think that maybe having a meeting on the 4th here, and then as Steve asked, another subsequent meeting in January maybe, that could be at an alternative location. You said a church. I don't disagree with that at all. And maybe those are the two meetings and we see where it comes from there. But I do want to be cognizant of, I think, Jack, you brought up the price and you see the $9,000 and you may not see the value that's included in that $9,000.
I'm just thinking of them traveling around town.
Well, think about this too. The hours that they spend here, not saying in this meeting per se, but they're, and Justin, John, you can elaborate, that's not it, right? You take that feedback and then there's usually multiple hours of time working through that information. I mean, I want to be cognizant of the fact that although we had $28,000, Mary, in ARPA funds to spend, when John originally sent the quote, it was above that. And I said, John, I can't do it. Like, I don't have the money for it. And it didn't balk a bit dropping that price down to meet our scope of work. So I want to be cognizant that the more we add, I think we need to be cognizant of that changes the cost structure a little bit. I'm not saying we can't do it, but I'm just saying to be respectful of their time as well.
Having an additional meeting, having 5 additional meetings may be hard, but holding another meeting, if it gets more information, and bottom line, that you all say, this is a plan that has enough information for us to move forward. And if we aren't there, Councilman Ortiz, I will tell you,
Ortiz, not
Ortiz, I'm sorry. If we're not there, then we need to be able to get there, or you all need to be able to get there with us or without us before you make a decision on a plan.
And I'll just say one or two more things. I don't want to keep on this all night. I don't want to get in a position where we're too far along, that that's what we got. I think that the strategic plan is worth the time. I'm excited about it, Steve. I'm just kidding. But I think that we can use the remaining ARPA funds, anticipate some more in our general fund budget for FY25 to continue on a strategic plan course that is RFP'd and can be subject to things like focus groups where we're not necessarily even part of it, so that our residents, the real stakeholders and the merchants, can speak freely to those subject matter experts. So I'm going to go ahead and make a motion that we do not approve motion 2.
We're still in the presentation.
2023.
I just have some more questions.
I'm sorry, I'll rescind all that, except for the motion part. The rest of it is my opinion. Go ahead.
So I would agree with what Steve said initially. I think the date, December 4th, is a real problem, because the date is not out there, and it may be a poor turnout. That's what I'm concerned about. I think the date should be moved to January for the listening session and the stakeholder session, and maybe do 2 listening sessions, I don't know. But December's just too busy this time of year. Everybody's running around doing stuff. January's a much calmer time. I think we could market it better, get that date out there early, and we'd have better results overall.
And with your expertise of community and information gathering, I would like for you to use your expertise in trying to get a better cross-section of participants. That's my concern. Because that comment that resident made really resounded. We're going to get the same information from the same people, and that it's good folks participating, and we have some folks in the town of Berlin that is committed to their involvement in how the town is, and that's a good thing. That is a splendid thing, and I pat those folks on the back. But I'm trying to get to those folks that we might not regularly see. That's my concern.
Right.
Sarah?
I've been really involved in the administration of getting the stakeholders, I shared the list with you all for the stakeholders, and we got your feedback on that, and so I'm like chewing on my tongue. I don't know if it's okay for me to say this, but you each represent a district, so could we, if we
It's
move
probably
this?
not.
Sorry?
It's probably not okay for you to say what you're gonna say.
I think that she should say what she wants to say. Go ahead.
I've just been really involved in the process to date, and I'm thinking that if there's a concern about the people who are coming to the next meeting, if we push it out to January, it would give you each more time to commit or try to commit to get a certain number of people from each one of your districts to attend. I think that would be helpful.
Thank you.
Thank you.
But we shouldn't be
That's not what I
picking.
expected you to say.
We shouldn't be picking people to come speak. They should want to come, and they should feel comfortable enough to do so.
I don't think that's what Sarah's saying. I think Sarah's saying the opportunity for you to get the word out within your
Get the word
constituent.
out. And a possible different location other than town hall.
That for me is the hard one, is the location. I hear you when you say that the town isn't that big and that there's no true separation, but there is. And to think that one spot services everybody, it doesn't. The responses we're hearing, not to belittle them, are generic. And I don't say that to discredit anything that I'm hearing. I don't. But I truly believe that there are some things that people want to say that aren't either coming to wherever they're coming, that aren't filling these forms out, or that feel that whatever it is they have to say is not going to be received. That's how I truly feel about this.
Can I also add, we all love public comment. We all love hearing from folks and getting input, but I think it's important to look at it in context. And if we can get more, by all means, I'm supportive of getting more. But how many people voted in our last election that we had?
Yeah.
Less than 100. We got more participants to fill out a survey on the strategic plan than came out to vote at the last election. Does that tell you anything? How many times, Mary, do we hear from our departments that are getting ready to do work in a service area that they post the service information to the person's home, and then they call and say they didn't understand that was getting ready to happen? I want public comment. I'm open to, as Councilmember Nerve said, maybe moving the dates, having some alternative locations like we talked about, advertising, maybe we hit code red to let people know, things like that. But I also don't think it's worth diminishing the 11 folks that filled that out, because I do think with each one of them comes a multiple of folks that live in their household.
Now, just so you understand what I'm saying, I'm not diminishing the 100 and whatever that surveys that were returned. I'm not doing that. I think when an individual takes their time to complete a survey of the nature that was sent, I think that's a good thing. I'm concerned with reaching those folks that don't usually return those surveys. And Zach just said, he implied that if the town posts something on somebody's house and it's not read or understood, it is incumbent upon the resident. That is true, but we have an obligation also to do the best job we can to get that information out there, even if it is in different media.
I agree, 100%.
Some folks you can send written information, some folks you have to talk to, some folks you can put it on the internet, some folks you have to have an intermediary, somebody to stand and provide the information. we need to investigate other possible means of getting the information out in an effort to reach more people.
The interesting part about that too, Ivy, what was our group when we did the SWOT analysis? You remember? What was?
How many?
No. What group were we in? It was you, me, and two others. I know who they were.
Was it opportunities or was it?
I can't remember, but one of the things that resonated was actually public relations and public messaging. Because we had identified several different things that were more public messaging related than anything else. So it's pretty interesting you say that. But, all right, I do think that we need to find ourselves back on track somewhere around here. I would like to allow John and Jess to finish up the presentation if you don't mind, if you feel there's points that we should hit. If not, up to you.
Well, if you all read through the report we had, the information we have in here, this is just a summary of the survey information. So if you look through the report that we gave you, that's in there. A little more information in the PowerPoint. I can get this PowerPoint to you. In fact, I think
We have it.
yeah, we can get that to you. If you all would like us to conduct more of those listening sessions, we're open to it. I think certainly pushing out to encourage people from your area, your districts, to participate. You have that personal connection, and we all know that someone, you all have more credibility with asking someone to participate than we do. We're, they don't know us.
So now, I'm hearing that in phase 2, there's no objection to moving the December 4th date to 2 subsequent dates in January.
And I would be fine with doing the
alternative
December
location.
4th date anyway, and doing one also in early January.
I think the council would like to see 2 in January.
2 in January.
If we're moving stakeholders meeting to January.
There's also a stakeholder meeting in January, yeah, but
No, moving
again,
December.
if you, and I would say, if no one shows up on the 4th, then, I mean, that certainly would not be a meeting.
I think that the group is wanting something that's more in January. Is that a better understanding?
Yes.
So 2 dates that are in January. I think the fear is that if there's such a low participation in December, that people will lose the initiative to want to come to the others. So I think what we're hearing is...
So with the timing of daylight savings, these meetings are what? Evenings, days? Are we going to do a daytime and an evening, or what are we talking about?
If you're doing more than one, you could certainly.
So if we're doing more than one, we could do one daytime and one evening.
In January.
There may be people who, again, don't drive at night, or their children are home from school and they can't participate because it's not.
And
So
get these dates out.
Yeah, and we'll maybe hit some code red. I know that we don't like to abuse the code red, but I think...
I don't think this would be an abuse.
I know, but I'm just... But I think
I
that
think
it's...
also, and they may not read people may not be, reading, newspapers or anything, but, I mean, but again, you may have people.
It's okay, Steve. It's okay, buddy.
That hurt.
Can we get a paper bag for the end?
I'm a newspaper editor.
Yeah, but again, people may or may not read the newspaper, but I think that's one thing. But if people see, the, is included in this,
We'll
we
do that.
have a press release that says, here's what came back from a survey of residents. Come and share your opinion on that. And I think that may, pretty good people who feel like my opinion isn't in there, will be motivated to say, here's something that wasn't included in there.
All right, so we'll do that as a move to the phase 2. Let's keep Jess and John at the table, and we'll move into item 3A, motion 2023-53, the approval of phase 2 of the Beacon strategic plan. It says I'm going to run point, but I really have nothing more to add.
Well, I'm just gonna, since I made such a fuss, I'm gonna go ahead and make a motion.
You called it out.
Huh?
You called it out that you made a fuss.
I did, well, I mean, I think we could do better. No offense to Beacon, but I think we can. So I'll make a motion that we do not, or we deny motion 2023-53 to move to phase 2 of the strategic plan by Beacon in the amount of $9,300.
I have a motion by Councilmember Orris to not approve motion 2023-53. Second call, asking for a second.
I'll second that.
Oh,
I mean,
okay.
I think that we could do this a little differently. I truly believe that.
Okay. So we have a motion to not approve motion 2023-53 made by Councilmember Orris, second by Councilmember Nichols. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Motion fails with Councilmember Orris and Nichols in favor, opposition Vice President Burrell, Councilmember Nur, and Councilmember Green. All right.
So I'll make a motion to approve 2023-53, I guess with the adjustment of that community listening session, correct?
We're going to move the community listening session from the 4th. It will now be 2 community listening sessions in January. And hopefully, can you assist with securing a church location?
Yes.
Can you make a recommendation as to where that location can be?
405 Flower Street, St. Paul United Methodist Church.
Daytime hours?
Do you want the daytime or do you want the evening meeting?
I would prefer, well, not me, but I think it would be better received in early evening.
5:30,
6.
6.
That's bedtime, isn't it?
Not at St. Paul.
Well, stakeholder meetings are advertised, like for the stakeholder.
He has one scheduled for December 13th.
That will have to be moved.
Yeah.
The stakeholders.
I think we probably would, I'm happy to have more than the number of stakeholder meetings. I think it's probably valuable to go ahead and have that stakeholder meeting that gets, it may be a shorter meeting now.
I just think it should come after we have all the input we can possibly get.
Okay.
Yeah.
I think it's more beneficial.
It's not a problem. But that's not the,
Right.
but that's not the public meeting. I just want to make sure everybody's aware of that. That's not the public meeting. That's the,
2 public meetings, probably one at the library.
the other location can be the library. Everybody agree on that? I think it shouldn't, I disagree with you, Councilmember Orris. I don't think if we have the time to secure an alternative location, I don't think it should be here. People feel more comfortable providing differing feedback maybe in a place that's not here. So, all right, to St. Paul's, early evening, 6.
6.
And then the other meetings would be at the library, maybe daytime hours. Everybody agree on that?
Motion.
Well, there's no, I don't, did you make a motion?
I did make a motion.
Oh,
I made a motion
apologize.
to approve 2023-53 with the changes outlined by the mayor to the community listening session paragraph.
Thank you. So then, yes, we'll take the second, if that's available.
I'll second.
Okay, so I have a second by Councilmember Nur. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed?
Opposed?
Let the record reflect that Councilmember Green made the motion, Councilmember Nur seconded, Vice President Burrell was in favor, oppositions, Councilmember Nichols and Councilmember Orris.
I just feel it's important to give this process, the benefit of the doubt and try to get more data just so we can get better results. I think we owe it to continue the process.
I think so too.
How
Thank you.
many phases of this process? 3?
So a question for Councilman Orris. Do you want to continue to serve on the strategic planning work group of the council? That's what that is, right?
It's the stakeholder meeting.
Stakeholder meeting.
Yeah, I mean, just because it didn't go my way doesn't mean
You have lots of
I mean,
Tremendous amount of
well,
strong-
no, don't kick me while I'm down, Steve.
No, I think it's an important important.
No, that's a very
What do
valid
you guys
question. It's a
I
very
think
valid
maybe
question.
it's the mustache. You should
And I
shave it off.
appreciate it. I mean, I'm not going to stick my head in the sand and not do anything more. I said my piece. My goodness, you guys are fixing.
Yeah, I mean, because I don't
yes.
agree, because
Right.
I don't agree with this process per se, does not mean that I won't advertise, because you guys agree to it. I won't advertise
Yeah.
to the people in the community, you need to come out
Right.
and make sure your voice is heard. Most definitely. I think more now than before.
Right, now, there were two
I
council
appreciate it.
members that agreed to serve on the committee, and I got a lot of information from the community that were at that meeting, that I just wanted to make sure you still wanted to serve.
Thank you both. We've occupied a lot of your time this evening. We really appreciate it.
You know, we will do what it takes to spend the time to get that information. I appreciate all of you, when we get the dates set, sending that information out to your constituents, whether that's via electronic, whether it's via personal communication, whether it's postings in your church or groups that you're in. Any way to get it out to people, I encourage them. And as I said, we'll send out a press release on, here's the information that was collected from the survey. That may prompt people to see that, to say, my view isn't in there. I want it reflected.
Right, or even just with the questions that are being asked, I don't want people who are planning to attend or have thought about it feeling, well, I'm limited to only what's being asked of me. I want to be able to give my true thought outside of the confines of these 5 questions. You see what I'm saying? So,
Or you
I
need
don't-
to say we need your thoughts on these results.
Yeah.
We need your help.
Yes, and that's the real message is this all the information people want to provide? We want you to give feedback. Here's what we have so far. What are we missing from you?
Thank you. We appreciate it. Thank you. All right. Up next is agenda item 3B, motion 2023-58, acknowledging the request of the Local Development Council, LDC, to phase out planned use of casino funds for LEOPs. It has me running point on this. We'll give Kate a second to get this up and running. Everybody's got a copy of the motion in front of them. I do want to share some feedback while we're working to get there. Give me just a second. Also, we may have to backtrack. I did not read the closed summary session review. I'll go back and I'll read it. It's fine. In the future, on the consent agenda, can we just make a highlight read statement for me? It just covers us. I don't want to, it's not worth it. Over a simple reading of a piece of paper, it's not worth it. All right. Let me get there. Just a second. All right, here we are. Know where you're at. I'll bet you before. All right, there you go. So the motion 2023-58 is in the packet. It's page 36 of the packet. The one request that I got from the chair, I think it was sent to myself and the town administrator. I don't know if anybody else was on it or not. So, okay, well then you all got it. The request is to change, in quote, over future years to, in quote, in the future multi-year FY 26-28 plan. Mary, do you want to provide your thoughts on that?
I was not
Oh, you-
copied on the emails.
Okay. Well, I got it in a text, so that's how I got it. The thing is that we got to be careful not to bind, we cannot actually legally
Yeah, you
bind
cannot.
future councils. I think that we need to acknowledge the request of the LDC, and we need to make a good faith effort to comply with the things that we said we would comply with. But we cannot bind a future council to certain things. So With that being said, does anybody need me to read the motion? I think it's,
No. One thing I would say, so the message we received from the LDC chair was they want to see a revised or written plan prior to April 1st, 2024. So that date should be in the motion as well.
hey, what now?
So what she's saying, following much discussion on a motion by Senator Carosa, the LDC voted to approve the Berlin multi-year plan for 24 to 26 as presented, with the caveat that town officials submit a written plan prior to April 1st, 2024 that identifies their intention to phase out the use of LIG funds for the ops in the future.
So it's my understanding from the meeting that the request was to make, they approved our FY '24, '25, and '26 plan. And that the request was for us to acknowledge that we understood that the group would, the LDC would like to see the town phase out LEOPS payments on using the grant, the LIG grant. Now,
What I'm saying is
We
they
didn't-
they
that
clarified their
seems-
motion that they made, that Senator Carosa made, and they attached a date to it that they want to see revision.
but that's not what was acted on during the meeting unless I'm missing something.
That's not what I understand.
No, that means-
That's not what I understood.
Then we should pause on this motion until we can.
And we, just so that everybody's aware, we did send the motion to the county and the LDC for their review, and we asked it for it back by noon. I think there were some folks that may have been out of the office, so tabling this, we've got time to
There
table
was
it
a
and get it
quick
right.
turnaround on
Yeah.
this. I think tabling it is very reasonable.
They had asked for this, I think, back, for January. I think that date is for January, when they would like to have a letter and this motion. We wanted to try and get ahead of that, but there's no harm in pushing this to the next meeting.
Just to clarify.
Correct.
Is this the motion or is it?
Right. It's much better to get
That,
a clear answer on it.
that was not my understanding.
What was your understanding?
My understanding would that we would send a documenting stating that our intention going forward would be to phase the ops out. Not the ops out.
Paying for it via this funding source.
Yeah, that was my understanding.
So let me ask, is there any harm in, you call it a shell game, and you're exactly right. So is there any harm in actually submitting a revised plan?
Well, first of all, there's no need right this moment. But for FY '27, we might, I mean, it's no surprise, we'll report it, but we may, in order to get consensus of the LDC, have to begin moving some things around. Because as we talked
Why do
about,
we have to wait? That's my question.
because it's approved now. The plan is approved as is.
No,
I mean,
depends if this is what they're
We don't know.
saying.
Even the language of this motion does not commit you
Right.
to anything. It simply makes public that you're acknowledging the concerns and the request of the LDC. But this does not actually,
So why can't we approve this and then just follow up on a date and amend it?
I think it would be better to actually hold and wait and give Kim and them
Yeah, I
a
mean-
chance to,
I don't see any harm in
Right.
holding off on this. This is not something that needs to be acted on immediately.
I think we need to get it right the first time.
I agree.
Let's just
Yes.
wait, get the language
Don't get
right.
messy, yeah.
figure out what everybody is looking for, and then we have something to actually talk about. We have time, so.
'Cause
Let's, we need a motion to table though, if you don't mind.
Make a motion, we table 2023-58.
So I have a motion by Councilmember Nur to table motion 2023-58.
Second.
I have a second by Councilmember Green. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Let the record reflect that the motion to table motion 2023-58 passes unanimously. We'll bring that back before the group. The goal is our first meeting in December.
Our last meeting of the year.
Our
That's true.
December meeting.
Well, the second meeting in December is canceled.
Well, I'm not here Christmas days.
All right, up next is 3C, motion 2023-59, approval of date changes to the 2024 town event schedule. Economic and Community Development Director, Ivy Wells, is running point.
Good evening, Mayor and Council.
Good evening.
I have before you a motion to adjust the two of the 2024 event dates. It was brought to my attention a couple of weeks ago that Ocean City Fall Cruisers actually wasn't falling on the first weekend in October, and when we reached out to the chamber to give us their event dates, they had indicated that they wanted Berlin Cruisers to be on October 5th. Obviously, the Cruisers event in Berlin has to coincide with the Cruisers event in Ocean City. So at the last board, the Berlin Chamber Board meeting, it was requested that I reach out to mayor and council to go ahead and ask for a change for the Ocean City Cruisers date. And once this was being discussed, obviously we had to move Oktoberfest. And I'm recommending that Oktoberfest be moved to Saturday, October 19th with a rain date of October 20th. And the Berlin Cruisers to move from Saturday, October 5th to Saturday, October 12th. And I see on the motion it says 2023, but it should actually say 2024.
After no discussion, I move to approve.
I have a motion to approve by Vice President Burrell, seconded by Councilmember Orris. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Let the record reflect the motion 2023-59 passes unanimously.
Thank you.
Up next is agenda item number 4, an announcement of a poll vote result conducted by the mayor and council approving contractor for Seahawk Road striping project. Town Administrator Mary Boland and Public Works Director Jimmy Charles are going to run point.
There really isn't much to discuss. It's a public record matter that a poll vote was conducted. Jimmy has reached out to the contractor and they are making motions to get started on. Hopefully they'll be able to get it done before the weather turns too cold.
Thank you.
Is there anything Jimmy wants to add?
How we voting?
It is included in the packet. It was a unanimous vote.
Thank you. We appreciate it, both of you. Up next are departmental reports led by Town Administrator Mary Boland.
I don't have much. Coming back off the long weekend, it's always an adjustment period. The only thing that I really have is that Natalie, Melissa, and I believe the mayor, will be in Baltimore on Monday for the annual Maryland Public Service Commission rate hearing, which is... No, it's more or less us sitting there listening to the lawyer and the expert answer questions about the rates.
And we answer questions
And
about the
I will
fact that we're
remind you
not
that-
a stakeholder, or shareholders.
As is noted in several different formats and several different times of the year, Berlin has the lowest electric rates in this area.
Oh, say that aloud for the people.
We do, we
back,
publish it
you know.
too.
Say it one more
It
time.
is available on the webpage. Berlin has the lowest electric rates in the area.
And I can tell you, most of our sideline conversations, I've attended the Public Service Commission meetings every year, and most of the time we spend is educating them on the fact that we're a municipality.
Yeah,
that-
it's a hard transition for them to make from dealing with very large public utility, publicly traded utilities to a very small municipal utility.
We're a not-for-profit. They don't understand that. All right, so up next, we'll move, any questions regarding departmental reports?
I just have one real quick, please, for Ivy.
Go ahead.
Sorry. The Maryland Main Street Improvement Grant for $25,000, that is not the facade grant, correct?
Correct.
Okay, so this one goes toward, what does it go toward?
So the Maryland Main Street, the MIP as we like to call it, it's the Main Street Improvement Grant, and that is under the umbrella of DHCD, which also runs the Maryland Main Street program. Every year they offer the designated Main Streets grant opportunities. It used to be on a competitive basis, and then 2 years ago they decided it would be better to split it evenly amongst all the designated main streets, which I advocated for heavily. So this is completely separate from a community legacy grant, which we write to DHCD in order to get facade grant funding. So there's a lot of DHCD money that we receive. The strategic demolition grant is from Department of Housing and Community Development. The community legacy grant is for our facade grant. the Maryland Main Street Improvement Grant is specifically for just our Main Street district. It's for improvements, historic preservation, placemaking, marketing, professional development. It's for anything that makes our downtown vibrant and alive.
Is there anything similar, real quick, is there anything similar that would be similar to businesses that aren't on Main Street? Like,
No.
okay.
There's several loan opportunities through the county. There's the Volt loan. There's actually a loan program through DHCD called Maryland Business Works, which a couple of the businesses have actually applied for. But the purpose of the Main Street Improvement Grant is for, the greenest building is the building already built. So it's to keep our downtown thriving, historic preservation based, and economically viable for downtown.
Okay, thank you.
Any other questions?
Let me, real quick, I'm sorry. So for outside of the downtown, the Community Legacy Grant can be used for a variety of things. Historically, we've always written it to be able to offer the facade grant for downtown. But moving forward, if you have any ideas on what you would like the Community Legacy Grant to be written for in the future, you're more than welcome to let me know. We can meet about it, but I know that the business community really depends on the facade grant. So if we didn't receive facade grant money under Community Legacy, we could apply for.
And what's the submission for that?
It's typically in the spring.
In the spring, okay.
And as you mentioned, the Volt Loan Program is an excellent program. I was one of the first recipients in the county.
It
to
is.
receive one, and it's wonderful for businesses to be able to have access to that money.
Agree.
Yeah. It's an easy process to get it to.
Yeah, but most of the businesses that I meet with when I start talking about the Volt loan or Neighborhood Business Works loans, they say, well, yeah, that's a loan. Is there any grant money out there? And, you know, unfortunately, that there isn't. You know, the way I look at it, the Main Street Improvement Grant helps the downtown with a variety of things, which ultimately helps the businesses in our downtown.
Now, are you saying vault, like a bank vault?
VOLT, sorry.
Vault,
It's
like
the video, I forget what the acronym stands for.
Swap lottery terminal.
Yeah, there it is. Yeah.
Video gaming.
It's more casino money that,
We love it to see
But
that.
the
Yeah.
county administers
thank you for the casino.
to businesses.
Gotcha. Okay. All right, thank you.
Sorry.
Councilmember Green?
Sure, I just had a question for Jimmy, because he's over there, and you're here. So, the truck, I've seen the town of Ocean City trash truck last couple of weeks. But you have your truck back now?
Yes, we picked it up last Wednesday morning, and we used it Wednesday afternoon, seemed to be fine. The repairs were done after 5 weeks, so.
Was it work on in Fruitland?
Yes, it was.
Oh, it was sitting out in the yard looking lonesome.
For now, the other trucks are playing.
No, it was sitting there.
His name is Rudolph, right?
You didn't give it any love?
Fruitland trucks.
The seals were hoped to be repaired in the pistons and the hydraulic pistons, but when they got them apart, there were some bends in them, so they actually had to order them, which took, and they were like Arizona. And it took 2 weeks to get that in. Then when they got them in, they found some other issues, and then we had to order them seals, which took another week. And it just, because everything
Everything takes forever.
takes, yes.
Those parts aren't on Amazon Prime.
Parts are not sitting around.
Well, kudos to you guys and the team, because I know that had to be quite the curveball, and, you know, I saw multiple guys in multiple trucks. Yeah.
Including having to like overlay the seals so that they bill appropriately.
Yes.
Things falling off on the transit. Yeah. So, yeah. But, yes. Good job, Jimmy. All right, any other questions for departmental reports? Okay, if not, moving into public comment. Any comment from the public? Okay, seeing none, we'll move to comments from the council, starting with Vice President Burrell.
I have two things. First, let me say, well, three things really. First, during the LDC meeting held in Snow Hills, I just want to say to our mayor, Zach, I think you did a good job explaining the town's position and getting the town's point across as it related to Leops. I was really, I'm not gonna say impressed because I'm really hard to impress.
And you can say it.
Satisfied.
But I really was satisfied.
You gonna get A's.
I really was satisfied with the exchange. That there was a topic on the floor, and there was some discussion, information provided, and some debate led by our mayor, and I think he did a good job. And then I had to drive back to Berlin, and it dawned on me that this is not currently offered to our citizens to discuss a issue when it's on the floor. And I am suggesting to this body that we reconsider the format of our meetings. There is nothing like exchange and debate when the issue is at hand. Waiting to allow residents that have to sit through the entire meeting at the end to the opportunity to offer their opinions, I think where we are doing a disservice to our residents. So if this group would reconsider our meeting format, I think it would be greatly appreciated by our constituents.
Absolutely.
So that was number 2.
First, you started with how impressed you were.
That was number 1. That was number 1.
Go ahead.
Number 2 was.
I fear 3.
No, the theory.
Don't be afraid.
I have to apologize to Sarah. Sometimes I just need to keep my mouth shut. Saying that you should not speak, I think was very inappropriate for me to say. And I ask that you accept my sincere apology.
Accept it, thank you.
And that was the third thing. So that's all I had.
Well,
I agree with your moving stuff around for me.
thank you. Well, first of all, thank you for apologizing, Sarah, because the one thing that I do like is we have a lot of flexibility, even, I mean, with the public too, but mainly, hold on, we'll get to it in just one second, but mainly with the staff, right? There are experts in each one of their spheres, so it is really nice to have a safe space for them to be able to bring that forward. Now, with that being said, I'm open to suggestions, I really am, because it's not my meeting agenda, it's our meeting agenda. If there's a way that we can structure this, I'm open to it, but I need a little bit more feedback on that.
So, but I actually understood where we were now. Maybe I'm wrong, but if we see, like short-term rentals from last summer kind of runs, if we see a group here that wants to talk about, like say maybe a skate park or something like that, I was under the impression that all it took was a motion of a council member and a second, and the body to vote that will allow it to open up.
Correct.
But I will say in Fenwick Island, I've looked at their agenda, they do allow after every item a public comment. period. It's actually on the agenda. But that's kind of like where I was feeling that we had kind of achieved the ability to have the discourse and hear from the public in a timelier fashion. But I don't know where I got that, but I thought we had that conversation.
I agree, we did talk it here, and I thought we did change the format to allow as needed.
Correct.
When a subject came out that was important to the public and they wanted to speak, we would allow it. It was-
So on an as-need basis is what we're saying?
But
Depending on the subject, yeah.
Correct.
But what if, now, I heard Steve talk about groups. What if there's just one lonely person out there with one lonely opinion? Should not that person have the opportunity to share that opinion when the item is being discussed without a motion of this body?
Gosh, when you put it like that, yes, they should. No, I'm not even being funny, but seriously, yeah.
So what I'm asking for is guidance on creating the agenda. Are you asking for it at the end or before action is taken on each item that public comment is accepted?
Yes.
Before it.
Is that consent, I hear, is that consensus among the group? And keep in mind that once you put that on there, you can't stop it. Like, as far as for that meeting, for that meeting.
What do you mean? People are gonna, the meeting is going to go on indefinitely because.
I'll
people
see
won't
you
stop
all
talking?
here on some items, maybe longer than what we've been here.
I think you can still set time limits.
Yes, but if there are multiple people that want to speak, you can't say we're only going to hear from 5.
No.
You have to allow that same time constraint for each person that would like to speak on the item.
Well, not to take us down this dark space,
Correct.
but when we were going through the whole process of Heron
Because who are you
Park,
going to pick?
we were not being equitable on our time when we talked about that. When we allowed for the RFP group to say a couple things, and then a person out there to say a couple things, and a person out there, we weren't being equitable all the time there.
I was
So-
watching it all the
Yeah.
time. I
No, I know.
I've always set a 5-minute timer. I would stop it if you
We
were
have too.
engaging in conversation, but every single person had the same 5 minutes.
Now, with that being said,
From the audience.
the last meeting we had, a constituent came forward, only constituent in the room, and went longer than 5 minutes. We did not stop it. Because it was the only constituent in the room. Like, there's no reason we need to do that. But if the body wants a different format, we're open to that. I just need it clearly articulated as to what you would like.
Well, hearing Sarah say that she's keeping track, and actually seeing her do that, then I'll rescind that last statement. But I felt like we were going back and forth, and some people spoke longer than 5 minutes, and others.
Well, sometimes
But I'm
we were
gonna drop
going
that.
back and forth, and sometimes they were just speaking, and then the next person was speaking.
Can I just make a suggestion that we move comments from the public, because it says on there, any person who may wish to speak on a matter at the regular session may be heard during comments from the pure public. It says it on there. That we move that to, what I guess would be number 3, at any time before there's items for approval. I think that there generally is not much desire for folks to comment on the consent agenda that are minutes. And if there are presentations, I've noticed that it's been pretty much consent presentation item. That would apply to add a matter at the regular session after any presentations, should that be the case. It also allows to speak to what I believe Vice President Burrell is leading to. If someone just has a question about, I remember someone came up who had a concern about a fence. They don't have to sit through 2.5 hours to just make us aware of an issue with their fence.
I think that's reasonable.
I don't want to put words in your mouth, that's what I kind of felt you were.
That's somewhat. I think the discussion of the regular agenda items should be at the time the item is being considered. What you said, before there is a vote on on a particular item, we need to ask for comments from the public on the things that we discuss up here and may be approving or not approving. But I think the public should have the opportunity to share when the discussion is happening, not after the fact and after the decision has been made. And yes, it may add time to our meetings, but we're up here to serve the public. And we can put limitations on how long they speak and how long a discussion on an item will last.
So then am I understanding that you would prefer to see a public comment time after every item for approval?
No, what he's saying is
Is
that
that-
he's saying the mayor should ask, is there any public comment on this subject?
Right, we would put that on the, yeah, but we put it on there.
Is there any questions or anything like that? But that's all I have.
So we've got three potential options. Do nothing and keep it as it is. Move public comment before action items. So in this example, 6 would become 3, and 3 would become 4, and everything else would shift down. Or to add before action is taken on each item, I assume under items for approval, that there will be a request for public comment before a motion is made.
I'm personally fine with either of those. Do nothing is not an option.
Okay, so then is there a consensus on which one,
I prefer the last one.
after each item?
Yeah.
Okay,
It's easy.
Yeah.
okay. So, but before action is taken?
Correct.
So if somebody says they'd like to make, I think then we have debate, and then we have hearing from the public, and then we have the opportunity to
approve or disapprove.
I'm good with that. Now, the only question is, during public comment, are we sticking to, we have our debate, the public has their comment unobstructed, and then we do action? Or do you want to hear, honestly, it might even be better to have the agenda item, any presentation that goes along with it, then public comment, then debate, and then action. That way we have the opportunity to hear rather than just make it seem like we don't want to listen. You see what I'm saying?
Yeah.
I mean, it's appearance. Yeah. But now, are we engaging in discourse in the 5 minutes, or are we giving folks 5 minutes to speak?
It would be my opinion, no, not in this case.
In this case, it would just be them speaking.
Them speaking, and it would be a limit of 2 minutes.
Okay. So public comment, 2 minutes, unobstructed. Their comment, they say their piece, we don't go back and forth.
No, there needs to be an interchange, a discussion of ideas.
Okay.
Do you know what I mean?
Well, I'm trying to figure out what you mean, to
Just
make
like
sure I
you
got
did-
it.
Just like you did in Snow Hill.
When you said that I performed impeccably. Meets expectations.
Without fault.
Meets expectations.
That's the report card version.
Yep.
Surpassed expectations.
Too funny, got it. Then book. All right, I think we got it. Now, as far as your comment about the LDC, I think it was a group effort. I think it was nice to have everybody else there. It was nice to have the council there to support the town's position, and I appreciate that. All right, up next,
Just for
Councilmember.
clarity, we were just kind
Go
of
ahead.
having a sidebar here. Are you still leaving that comments from the public at the end as well? We just want to make sure
Yes.
for,
Yes,
okay.
because there may be something they want to discuss
Yeah,
that is
it's
not on the
unrelated.
agenda.
Yep,
Okay.
great.
And would those be 3 minutes, or 2 minutes, or 5 minutes?
Five.
Those would be
We'll
5.
keep that at 5. All right, Councilmember Nur.
All right, first up, I want to say I'm impressed that Dean was impressed for the very first time in his 84 years of his
I think it meets expectations. Satisfactory.
Pleasure to have in class.
Oh, boy.
I'm glad I didn't have you as a teacher.
Moving on, I want to give kudos to Ivy, to the town staff, and to the mayor for, pulling off Ice Berlin. It was an unbelievable, fantastic event. Everybody I talked to enjoyed it. Everybody was having a great time. You guys did a great job making it happen, and the tree lit right on cue.
I fear every year that switch isn't gonna work.
We tested it.
We always have an issue with cell phones.
Yes.
Yes, only Verizon, not the brick.
Correct.
The brick works.
I took the break down.
The brick works.
It did work.
I didn't.
Thank goodness for the break.
The brick works.
It helped.
I called it bat phone.
Good job, everyone. That was great.
You did what, Jen?
I called it bat phone.
And just while we're on cell phone coverage, Sarah has been spearheading our conversations with Verizon, trying to get a CAL for events. There is we'll follow up with everybody that completed the survey to help, and we'll do a public announcement as to what Verizon's position is, but we're looking at some time before service is improved, so.
I can't speak on
Yeah,
behalf of
I-
all
I've talked to
Verizon
their
customers, but I did not have any issues. That's true.
Yeah.
Oh, that's good. That's good to know.
That's good. I said, I can't speak for all Verizon customers, but I had 0 issues the night of the tree lighting, and I had Verizon, just.
We had SOSs.
Yeah, I didn't have any.
In,
Oh, wow.
at
What are the
the
differences?
hotel, everybody had SOS.
I mean, during the Christmas
I was-
parade,
yeah,
everybody's
we
trying
called
to
them.
use
And
it.
then I had
Happens all the time.
Yeah.
All right,
We're never
Councilmember
gonna
Nichols.
make house. I don't want to have one.
In the mix.
Councilmember Nichols. Oh, I didn't know.
queuing up.
Sorry. I didn't hear. Hello.
Yeah, yes. The tree lighting, I mean, I wasn't in town, but I will say that it was as well attended as the tree lighting that I attended. And that says a lot for the town of Berlin. Not that it, I mean, it does, but it doesn't, because everybody loves to be here. And I know that that sounds so cliche, but everybody loves to be here for that. It seems, it's kind of Hallmarkish, for lack of a better term. I saw, I just said, it was, in comparison to the tree lighting, I was at the same time Smarty Pants. It was as well attended as the one that I was at the same time. I wasn't here, but I saw the pictures.
Jack was crying.
This guy put me on blast. But I saw the photos, Mr. Morel. It was as well attended as the one, the tree lighting that I was at that same time, I said. And I will say this, we didn't mention it today, but I will say good luck. Congratulations to Stephen Decatur High School football team. Fabulous game on Friday. I was back in town.
I was on pins and needles without that game.
I saw bits of that on the tube while I was making my way back. But anyway, congratulations, those guys did a phenomenal job. And I don't know if you all have been watching on social media their little break,
Yeah, heck yeah.
their clips. God, I love them. Every week I look forward to seeing those guys celebrate them, their coaches, and now their parents, because at the end of the day, just like in this spot that we sit in, it takes an entire community to make what happened at Decatur happen. Those boys go out there and they put their blood, sweat, and tears on those fields, but it takes those families and whomever to get those guys there, to support them, and then again, those coaches and the community to rally around and cheer them on. Kudos to Decatur, the community for supporting them, and guys, I'll be there.
Who's going to Annapolis?
I just said if I can make it. I really was watching. But kudos, fellas. We can't wait to see how it goes
Thursday,
tonight.
7 p.m.
Yes,
at the Navy Stadium.
yes.
So, no, the best video was the last one they did.
With the moms.
With the moms.
That's
Yeah.
right, that's
Yeah,
right.
with the moms.
Exactly.
It was awesome.
It progressed from the boys just playing around.
They're gonna do it with the goat.
coaches.
They're gonna do it with the Navy goat.
Oh.
Build the goat. I gotta build the goat. So, all right. Councilmember Wars.
Yeah, well, piggybacking on the football team, congratulations and good luck. And I had thrown out the idea, and I can't remember if I saw them here. Were we able to, or can we get some Stephen Decatur flags on Town Hall?
We have dedicated Stephen Decatur flags for Town Hall.
Okay.
They've gifted them to us.
Okay, I think
Oh,
you're
do you have some for
Thank you,
Henry
Jimmy
Park
Grant.
too?
So thank you,
So we
thank
can
you, thank
see-
you.
The kids can see him on the way.
If you can find an extra one, we can get it up there.
I'm just
Yeah,
asking.
the only that we got to.
I don't have that many. They have lent them to us before, but I think that would be rather difficult with that turn.
That's just wishful
I'm glad we
thinking.
got
They
one.
do say.
So that's
they
good.
have those-
Or
We
we
have
got
blew
two.
it away.
Boy, I just need to walk outside. So, also Jimmy Charles. On Broad Street, heading into town, once you cross the railroad tracks on both sides of Broad, on the brick sidewalk and the concrete sidewalk, there are ADA pads. So I was just wondering, with the new business that's gonna be coming in there and with the bicycle on the track during the summer, would it be possible, can you just check with State Highway to see if we can get a crosswalk painted there?
Sure.
I don't know if we can, but if you could just look into it, that'd be great.
I'll contact State Highway and I'll put it out that you're asking for their, to do evaluation of, you know, the process of putting the piano board crosswalk in there.
That'd be great, that'd make a cleaner walkway.
We're going across where?
It's, okay, so when you're coming into town from Broad, the railroad tracks there, you, right across those, well, a couple feet up, it's before,
East.
it's east, it's before the stop.
Right, but it's going from where to where? Do you have sidewalks on both sides? No.
Yes, the brick sidewalk and then
Yeah,
the
the brick.
concrete sidewalk. There's the ADA pads that are line up.
Okay.
And typically, they don't do middle of the roads, but the
Right.
railroad track might be our saving grace there.
So if see what we can, Chief, are you okay with that?
Just trying to figure out the points. So we're talking about on the west side?
It'll be east
Okay.
of the railroad track.
So right in front of,
Before selling.
Closer to downtown.
Yeah,
Yes.
on the
This side,
downtown side.
Or two down to west.
Where the bikes cross mornings when kids are going
East
to
and west
school.
means
Yeah.
nothing.
It'll be
All right,
That's
so
what it said,
thank you for that. And then if you paid attention to the work session, I said it's beginning to look a lot like budget. So I just want I want
Mr.
to
Parks'
put,
house.
yes, I would like to put on the radar.
Yes, Mr. Parks' house.
Since we did not get the Rails to Trails grant this year for, I believe, the third time, I think that we would benefit from maybe revisiting that project and seeing if there are any other alternatives that we could maybe look at, see if any other funding is available for something a little different, and just kind of review it again. So I think that's a good idea, to put that on the radar. Kudos, echoing Councilmember Nur, for Ice Berlin, great event, everybody involved, Ivy merchants, ice sculptures, people, that was great. And just a quick follow-up, where are we now on the EMS coverage for New Year's? Can we have an update on that if it's available?
So the update is we've requested an ambulance downtown at the events, for the events that the mayor and council have discussed. The fire company believes that that is not something they can do. With that, we still want EMS coverage downtown for events. I think we're at a point where we probably need to start looking at issuing an RFP to see if we can get some coverage for downtown. The goal is, and the best practice is to have EMS on site.
Okay, I was just wondering if there was any.
If there's a way that the fire company can help us with that, we're open. So for Ice Berlin, I sent this to the group. There were a number of issues that were cited, one of which being the medications getting exposed to the temperatures. No matter where you look, it is not a best practice to turn the unit off during extreme temperatures. They keep idle for that very purpose, whether it's in the summer or in the winter. An example was I was at the tree lighting, and then I went to the Stephen Decatur game this week on Friday night, and the EMS unit was standing by there from Berlin running idle. You know what I mean? That's the best practice. So with that being said, I had even said to the fire company that In addition to the charges for staff time, the town would pay reasonable fuel costs if they speculated how much that would be in advance. And they said they couldn't comply with that, so. Hopefully it'll change.
Their non-compliance is related to their belief and that it's not necessary.
I think it's a difference of opinion on the placement of the apparatus. We, as the town of Berlin, have determined that the best place would be on site. That is a best practice. They believe the best placement would be at the firehouse. So it's a matter of agreeing to disagree, but we're not going to fund something that goes against what we've requested.
So did we have the third shift Friday night?
We did not.
Okay, so there's some dollars to talk about too at some point, right? That
Well, there is the additional money, I think it's plus or minus $8,000, that can be appropriated and should be, we should make an effort to get EMS coverage on site for events. Hopefully that's with the Berlin Fire Company EMS providing that response. Even at their highest, I mean, their salary scales range, right? And they quoted us potentially the highest person being on shift. We had no problem with that. And then we had no problem with the additional fuel costs if necessary. But we even said the units could be cycled. So if you don't want to keep the same unit downtown the whole time, if you want to move them, that's fine. We're okay with that. We just need on-site coverage. So, but something we can work towards, I hope. But I think an RFP should and would be the prudent route to take for EMS coverage.
So, I didn't mean to take anybody's time.
You're taking Jack's, it's okay.
No, Jack was done. I was done.
With those conversations being had at the moment, when's our next work session?
Oh,
You should
that's a
have-
good question.
Yep. Yes, Sarah.
I wanted to.
Thank you, Councilmember Nichols. I wanted to confirm, or I just realized today that when we sent out the list of dates, microphone?
I was just, if you can talk into that one too.
Yes. When we sent out the list of dates you all agreed to dates, and then the fire department was supposed to agree to the dates for your work sessions. The next one is December 20th, but I realized that Mr. Fitzgerald didn't confirm that date. And so I wanted to check with you all, because I know how crazy it is around the holidays, to find out if we could stick with that December 20th date, or if you wanted me to try to reschedule for something in January.
I think we're probably bound to it because of the contract, quarterly contract called for work session meetings.
Well, what Sarah and I discussed is that before we try to reconfirm with President Fitzgerald, we wanted to make sure you all were available first. You don't have to answer it right this moment, but you need to check your calendars and get back to Sarah so we can try to shore that up with the fire company.
You did all agree to that date in August, but I just wanted to check with you again.
And it was given to the fire company
In August.
in August.
Yes.
But in light of the conversation we're having at the moment,
Yeah.
we might want to talk about this December 20th meeting today.
It's not going to, it is not going to change for New Year's Eve.
No,
Their
I
position is
hear.
they want it at the firehouse.
I hear.
Our position is
I
we want it
hear.
downtown.
I hear what you're saying about New Year's Eve, but because that's one of the latest, freshest issues at the moment, do we want to wait till after the holiday to discuss it, or do we want to talk about what we talk about now? I don't know, I'm asking you guys.
These dates were set, they were given back in August, I think we should stick with these dates.
If we can get it firmed up on their end. I mean, on our
But then we can
end.
move to the next quarter if they can't make it.
Yeah, it's on my calendar.
It's all mine. We'll move it and confirm with, or
We'll
move
keep it.
forward with confirming
Yes.
the 20th.
Okay,
Thank you.
thank you.
All right, any other questions? Rails and trails. To answer your question, the pathway for rails and trails is now the federal bipartisan infrastructure funding that Sarah and Patty have been working on. The grant submitted, we're waiting to hear back, but it would be part of that project.
So does that mean that we still have to account for the county match and
So-
all that good stuff?
That county match will likely go back if we cannot cover the obligation of the rails and trails in this fiscal year. With that being said, Dave Englehart's looking at costs for going from Old Ocean City Boulevard back to the passive use entry point for Heron Park. And if that's capable of being achieved with the funding that we have available, then we may pursue that option if it's available.
Through the infrastructure then?
Through the funding that's already appropriated. If that's not a pathway, then we'll discuss, the county's portion will be returned, and we would discuss a reappropriation of the town fund.
I just wanted to put it on the radar.
But it is not going to be a funded item in FY '25.
At all?
With likely no. So, I mean, we discussed that as a group, that we had tried several years and that we were not successful and that we were going to scrap it. So, unfortunately, now it's part of the federal bipartisan infrastructure. All right, Steve?
I only have one thing. I just, Friday night, we've talked about it, but it's one of those all hands on deck events, and I think everyone should be very proud of themselves. It was wonderful. I was uptown pretty much the whole day, and coming out from lunch at Sterling Tavern, and I saw Jamie and Jimmy and Ivy lugging ice around. It was awesome, and just one of those special events. Another great night for Berlin. Thanks to the mayor for letting my granddaughters come up and be a part of the flipping of the switch.
It's very fun. Thank you. All right, so I want to, up next, comments from the mayor. I need to read the statement of closure. The fun and highlight of everybody's night. This is from the closed session. Time of the closed session, November 13th, 2023, 6 o'clock p.m. Place, location, the closed session vote to close was streamed live on Facebook. Mayor and council members moved to the it was in the mayor and council chambers. The meeting then moved over to the conference room. Purpose of the closed session, discussion reference PFAS, class action lawsuit. Date and time that we returned to the public meeting was the 13th at 7 o'clock p.m. The recorded vote, motion to close, was made by Councilmember Orris, seconded by Vice President Burrell. Members in favor were Councilmember Green and Nichols. Council members absent were Councilmember Nur. Statutory authority for the closed session. Meeting was closed under the following provisions of the General Provisions, Article 3-305B, item number 7. To consult with counsel to obtain legal advice on a legal matter, and item 8, to consult with staff, consultants, and other individuals about pending or potential litigation. The items that were actually discussed, the topic was PFAS class action lawsuit. People that are present are listed. Action taken, present attorney's agreement for approval during regular session immediately following. I think that covers it. All right, so I wanted to say thank you to town staff, everybody that came out to decorate the town Christmas tree. It looked fabulous. Thank you all for your help. The tree lighting, once again, to echo the comments up here this evening, went phenomenally. Thank you to your department for spearheading the planning associated with that, but thank you to all of our departments for pulling it off. And then the decorations downtown really look awesome. It's nice to see the lighting match for the Christmas trees, for the lamp posts, for the wreaths. Everything is consistent, except for one item, but I won't belabor that point. And then positive vibes and good, hopefully a favorable outcome to Decatur for Thursday night's game. So that's all I have. Up next, comments from the press. Mary, I feel like I should include you in comments from the press. Sorry. All right, up next, Vice President Burrell.
I just have one more thing.
That's not on the agenda.
Before.
Well, we're going to get this moving.
He's impressed again.
Below satisfaction.
I'm gonna miss the work session with the fire department. And I really don't know how to do this, but I'm gonna do it anyway. There seems to be a difference of opinion related to where an ambulance should be posted during town events. And I'm sure those guys have professional reason why they're recommending items stay at the headquarters or at the department. And I'm gonna ask this group to enter that discussion with the fire department within the month. And I'm gonna say, try to be just a little more gentle when you're dealing with the fire department and expect that they would use their professional expertise when they're offering an opinion of this nature. With that, move to adjourn.
Second, third, all in favor, say aye. Thank you.
Good job, Mr. Burrell.
Good job.